Well, good afternoon everyone and welcome to our Stage 5 Information Evening. For those prospective families joining us via Zoom this evening, I'm Nicola Taylor, Principal of the College, and I trust that you find the next hour or so a really insightful and informative view of PLC Armidale and what educational opportunities we may be able to offer your daughter. Everyone, please make note that there is an opportunity for Q&A or questions to be asked at the end. Use the chat function on the Zoom room to be able to lodge your questions. You can upload those questions at any point throughout the presentations this evening. I would like to especially welcome our current families as well and our girls in Year 8. This is a really exciting opportunity for you considering some of the subject opportunities that you will enjoy in Years 9 and 10 at the college. We at PLC Armidale have, for our new families joining us, one area of specialisation, and that is girls. It is all about the girls, all about girls and their learning, whether that's learning in the classroom, learning in our co-curricular experiences, and even learning how to navigate the social world, which is an important aspect of what we do at PLC Armidale. But this evening is all about our subject choices. I would at this point like to acknowledge our students in Year 9 and Year 10 who, when asked to record a video grab of the subjects that they chose as their electives and why they have enjoyed them, put their hands up with great eagerness and, despite not being on campus, still put together some fabulous video clips. And I hope, girls, you've had the opportunity of working your way through and looking at the girls' view of the subjects that they've studied as electives in Year 9 and 10. Here is our program for this evening. At the end, as I mentioned, there'll be Q&A and the panel answering questions that will be sent through via the Zoom chat will be Mr. Clendining, our Head of Senior School, Mrs. Clinch, our Head of Humanities, and Mr. Schumach, our Head of the STEAM faculty. And they will all be following me soon to present different aspects of the points and features of our program as outlined on the slide in front of you. Well, girls, you have come to an exciting part of your educational journey. This is the final year that every subject you study are the compulsory subjects that our education regulator, or NESA, New South Wales Education Standards Authority, have said that students in Year 8 across New South Wales must study. The only choice you've had to this point is the choice of language that you have studied, whether you've chosen French or German. But every other subject has been the core or compulsory courses of study that NESA have set. At PLC Armidale, we have added Christian Studies as a compulsory subject from pre-K through to Year 10 because that's an important part of developing the whole person and addressing girls' aspects of faith and belief and caring for your spiritual needs as well. This evening you're going to find out information particularly about the process ahead in choosing the elective lines, and we offer 3 elective lines at PLC. Our elective courses all prepare you for the journey ahead. So if you have a look at that slide, you can see here you are, 2021 in Year 8. Next year you will embark upon Stage 5. Remember, in the senior school years there are 3 stages of learning. You're at the end, coming to the end of Stage 4 this year. Stage 5 encompasses Years 9 and 10, and then Stage 6 encompasses Years 11 and 12. And you are known as our class of 2025 in our database, and we look forward to celebrating you in Year 12 as our graduating students in that year. The Rosa journey, whilst it begins in Year 9, NESA provide Year 9 experiences as an opportunity really for you to learn about some of the skills and experiences and the requirements for the core and mandatory courses before you are assessed on them and the assessment captured as part of a record of school achievement. That record of school achievement starts in Year 10, building on the learning in Year 9. Some students in New South Wales leave school at the end of grade 10 and are able to achieve or attain a record of a school achievement for Year 10 only. Most students in New South Wales do remain at school until they are 17. That is the legal age that you are allowed to leave school. If you choose to leave at 17 and you have not completed Year 11, you would only have your Year 10 record of school achievement. Some students in schools in New South Wales leave school at the end of Year 11 and they would graduate with a Year 11 record of school achievement. And that is a record of their accomplishment in the courses that they've chosen to study for Year 11. At PLC Armidale, nearly all our girls each year continue in a full pattern of enrolment until the end of Year 12. And at the end of Year 12, girls, you will complete your high school certificate examinations and you will be rewarded with a high school certificate. You will also be rewarded with a record of school achievement, and that will outline the grades for your courses of study in Years 10, Year 11, as well as the high school certificate courses for Year 12. The ATAR is a separate discussion. We don't go into that this evening. We wait until you are in Year 10 to have that conversation more fully. Girls, whether you began with us in the junior school, whether you joined us in Year 7, whether you're considering joining us next year, you are part of the PLC Armidale learning journey, and that's a very busy slide. It isn't a stated curriculum. You won't find a document for all of those bubbles that outlines the courses of instruction or the programs that you have undertaken to achieve those skills or develop those aptitudes, or even some of the patterns of thinking and ways of learning. Rather, it is a graphic that shows some of the things that are important at PLC, and I'll just speak to it briefly. In the centre of our learning journey at PLC Armidale is an overarching guide and goal that for each year of learning at the college, there will be 1 year of growth. That's not just academic growth, that's also growth as a person, growth in your social emotional skills, and growth in your engagement and interaction in the co-curricular program as well. So 1 year of learning, 1 year of progress. Sitting around there are some cross-cultural perspectives, and that's where we consider not just the world through the Armidale eyes, but the world through much broader eyes as well, and opening up to how other cultures and other considerations, including those of our Aboriginal and Indigenous perspectives, come to bear in key learning areas. As a faith-based school, our Christian distinctives are important to us, complementing the whole person and your development. And then ICT capabilities, or how you grow in your use of technology as a very powerful tool for learning. Those cross-cultural perspectives, Christian distinctives and ICT capabilities are woven into each year of learning from pre-K all the way through to Year 12. And then the bubbles go out from there in our stages of learning. If we focus in on the 3 stages that characterise our senior school, Stage 4, Stage 5 and Stage 6, what we see there is our staff working with you girls to move from just being able to know and do things to really develop a very deep and broad understanding of concepts and ideas and attitudes that then shape your final years of schooling at the college. In Year 7 and in Year 8, you have been involved in creating learning objects, particularly using technology. That's been done at a faculty learning, through your integrated learning program, and through mandatory technology in particular. Then you have acquired a new set of research tools. Coming into the senior school, you have learned how to use your technology as a research tool or instrument, but also through the way that assessment tasks are being structured. You've been learning about how questions can be used to shape and focus understanding, and also to highlight the things that we need to know as well as the things that are nice to know. And also Stage 4 is also about managing change. Much more independence is expected in you as a learner, and I commend you as Year 8 students for the way that you are undertaking remote learning. It is a great joy to hear from your teachers, the girls that are at PLC Armidale, about how you not only turn up to lessons, but you turn up expecting to learn. You're navigating through your Canvas courses. You know exactly what you need to do and bring to your synchronous sessions because of the way that you've engaged in your asynchronous sessions as well. So well done on that achievement and accomplishment. In stage 5, we focus a lot more on problem solving. That doesn't mean that the problems become more apparent in stage 5, but actually we're very intentional about problem solving. That could be looking at how do we start with a design or an initiative and grow it out from there. The tasks and the assessments might be a little bit more open-ended, as might some of the classroom learning. We'll also be looking at how do we navigate the problems that emerge in the middle adolescent years as you navigate your social world, and that's done particularly through our Pastoral Care program and PDHPE. In stage 5, girls, you'll grow into a deeper understanding of yourself as a learner, and the elective choices that you make don't lock you into subjects for stage 6 necessarily, but they will show you the types of subjects that you're naturally interested in, the types of subjects that you experience success in, and the types of subjects that give you that intellectual challenge that want you to learn more. So you'll learn about your strengths, you'll identify some weaknesses as well, and I trust that you enjoy that aspect of learning more about yourself as a learner. And in stage 5, the areas of critical thinking become a focus point as well, where it's not just about knowing and doing, but it's also about applying. It's about taking big ideas and breaking them into smaller parts. It's about taking the smaller parts and putting them together to create a central idea or understanding. And how does all of this happen? Well, as I said, it's not in one subject alone. It's the cumulative experience of day upon day, week upon week, term upon term, all coming together across year 9 and year 10 to equip you very well for your stage 6 experience. So at this point, I'm going to pause and I'm going to introduce you to Mr. Clendining, Mr. Mitchell Clendining, our head of senior school, and he's going to talk to you a little bit more about the stage 5 experience at PLC Armidale. Thank you, Mr. Clendining.
Thank you, Mrs. Taylor, and good evening to our parents and students watching this evening. And thank you for taking the time to invest in your daughter's education as you think carefully of what school might look like in stage 5 as part of your learning journey and all the possibilities that are available at PLC Armidale. The jargon and acronyms that seem to come part and parcel with education these days can at times be quite confusing and overwhelming, so my intention tonight is to try to not use eduspeak as much as possible as part of my presentation. But my purpose tonight is to really highlight what support for your daughter looks like at PLC Armidale in stage 5, as well as the patterns of study that are available broadly as your daughter moves into year 9. If I look firstly at what support looks like, I'm seeking to capture the idea there that we support each student through a multifaceted approach. The educational experience, interests and needs of our daughters as they navigate school certainly shift and change gear as they move into year 9. Our purpose is to provide our girls with all the tools and resources needed as they learn more about who they are and who they want to become. So when it comes to academic support, girls at PLC Armidale are fortunate to have skilled, passionate and dedicated specialists. In selecting any of the elective choices available, you know that your daughter will get an experienced teacher that will facilitate and design learning in a way that supports, enthuses and extends your daughter. This is combined with remarkably small classes that really do allow for personalised learning with continuous and real-time feedback. We know that effective learning ultimately comes down to meaningful experiences. They need to be rich in content, conversation, and a focus on skill development, not just memorising content for an examination. Following the principles of guided inquiry, students are taught by teachers that use a range of thinking routines and strategies developed by Harvard University's Project Zero. But this is also combined with structured, effective teaching practices that we know that truly work from experience. It is important to note that such strategies can be effective for all learners as well. We believe we need to engage and equip our girls to be effective thinkers and communicators, and our staff work collaboratively to share best practice as we come to know each student. This is certainly one of the core strengths of a small school that you will not necessarily find in larger schools, and also drives us as professionals. Yet we also know that school is not just about academic achievement. In Stage 5, students are given more opportunities to be mentored by older students, but also to mentor the younger ones. And that is what peer support is all about. In this sense, peer support is not just the formal program that we train our Year 10 students in, it's also fostered through other initiatives, particularly within the guild structure. Pastoral Care is the next bubble on this diagram, if we can just go back to that one, please. But this deserves its own slide in a moment, so I will come back to that. You'll notice on the next bubble there, career support. And this is not something that we start with our students in Year 12, which may have been your experience at school. In fact, it is something we have strategically brought down and added staff and resources to in Stage 5, because we really do want our girls to be open and curious about a range of career options. For that reason, myself and Miss Chu in particular are developing and have developed career sessions in Stage 5, looking at the strengths of our girls, those areas for improvement, but also primarily to open their eyes to career paths beyond school. Finding their career path can take many twists and turns, as I'm sure it has for many of us, and we think it is worth investing resources and time into the girls so that they have a strong sense of optimism about where their choices may lead beyond school. When it comes to the learning environment, my last point there, can I just say that after teaching for almost 20 years in co-educational independent schools in Sydney and regional New South Wales, I was simply amazed at the focus and warmth that typifies the PLC Armidale classroom experience. It was almost a little bit eerie when I started here, just the sense of vibrancy that the girls would bring and the focus to each lesson. The time that's actually spent, therefore, on quality learning was certainly evident on my first day and continues to be reaffirmed as I see the colleagues around me teach. If I can move on to the next slide in regards to pastoral care, you'll see there that there is that focus on independence, that our role as educators and as parents is to be able to equip our girls, our daughters, to be independent, but also that good social and emotional resilience does lead to greater academic outcomes, as well as a sense of belonging, which is something that we all crave and all seek, and it's something that doesn't just happen. And so we do take this role very seriously in making that journey, particularly through Stage 5, as one where girls are able to be supported and equipped throughout that experience as they become more independent. And I know certainly from my own 5 daughters that what our girls need does change over time, and it's for that reason we do have dedicated year patrons that follow that journey along with the girls. But on top of that, having that year specialist that every year has Year 9 or every year has Year 10 have really developed the skills, the knowledge, the expertise underpinned by research to really support our girls as part of the journey. And of course that is supported by other pastoral care staff and our school psychologist. This is also underpinned by the positive psychology research that is part of our philosophy as part of the school. And the guild system has an important place in that structure as well, because it does provide those opportunities for girls to mix across the grades from kindergarten to Year 12, and I'm sure that that has been some of the experience that have been the highlight for our girls. Guild drama is something that I'm learning about and is coming up next term, but certainly those experiences across the year group and building a sense of sisterhood and collegiality amongst our girls is something that we want to provide opportunities for. The next slide has to do more specifically with what the course structure looks like and the options available in Stage 5. Now, there are some mandatory courses that you can see there in front of you, including English, Geography, History, Mathematics, and then there are some strands of that within, as well as PDHPE, Science and Christian Studies here at PLC Armidale. Next, below that we have our Group A courses, which are board-developed courses by NESA, and as such, the results of that, or the grades awarded with that, will be recorded as part of their record of school achievement. But on top of that, PLC Armidale has developed a number of what's called Group B courses, or school-developed courses. And what these courses are real special courses of interest developed by specialist staff that can really take our girls in these domains that really tap into their interests, but at the same time is part of their preparation for Stage 6 courses in quite direct and indirect ways as well. And Mrs. Clinch, Kate Clinch, will speak about those courses in more detail. But before we get to that, please enjoy the following video that will give you a sense of some of these course options.
The study of agricultural technology, or AG as we tend to call it, provides students with these opportunities to really experience agricultural life through direct contact with plants and animals. You can look at different technologies and agricultural technologies, and ultimately it is the original STEM subject. So if you're really interested in science, technology, maths and engineering, this is the subject for you because it's the practical application of all of them.
I like to call it a subject that is the subject of life, because it's all about educating our girls on how the world works. We get to look at the economy, we look at the legal system, and for any parents that are out there, we also look at moving out of home and getting independence. And so commerce really gets into helping girls to figure out what kind of person they want to be in the business world. I would really encourage any girls that have aspirations of any kind of leadership in terms of management and jobs, things that they would like to do later in life, having an understanding of commerce, having an understanding of how business works, supply and demand, employment issues, all these sorts of things all talked about and discussed in commerce.
I love teaching this subject. I love that it offers so much diversity and creativity in the one subject. From fashion design to interior design to architecture design, the students can choose an area of interest, or a focus area as we call it, that suits their passion, and follow a journey through in making a product.
I believe drama is the best subject in the world. It completely empowers us to understand our human condition. It helps us to create considered opinions about our world and responses to our world. In our world, which is so soaked in technology now, where we have forgotten how to look at each other, drama in it gives us those skills back. It helps us to communicate and to give eye contact and to be able to give impromptu speeches if you have to. For those meetings that you will have in boardrooms growing up, being able to speak on your feet, we give those skills in drama in Year 9 and 10.
Food technology, it's an elective offered to students doing stage 5, which is a practical based. It does have some theory, but it's a very practical based, and that's looking at skills in cooking and serving food and food preparation. It also gives the opportunity for students to think of their career options later on in life, because it leads on to doing hospitality if they decide to do it in stage 6. And they get the opportunity to cook foods from different cuisines, which is a variety of from different cultural background, and they explore more food and also they look at it from a nutritional perspective.
I think that the study of languages can be a really fun and rewarding addition to your elective program, especially if you've ever thought about travelling or maybe even doing an exchange. So through learning languages, you can engage in real-world communication and reflect on the really big ideas surrounding heritage and culture and identity. I also think that the study of languages strengthens literacy in your first language and supports participation in the global community, not just our own little bubble here at PLC. So I think the study of languages can really enrich what you do as a student and broaden your horizons infinitely.
So Music at PLC provides lots of opportunities for girls to develop their music in all sorts of different ways. One of the specialties that we really take pride in at PLC is that we're able to support high-level musicians to really embark on a very, very specialised program of study. And many of these students actually go on to study music at a professional level outside of school. We're able to support these girls through the provision of highly specialised programs through the chamber music program, through our string quartet, and through highly specialised tuition in composition, performance and musicology.
You should choose visual arts if you have an imagination and you want to experiment with using your hands and getting better at looking at things and looking at the detail of things, so being more observant of your surroundings and your environment, and if you travel, so yeah, being more aware of what's around you and looking at the detail and the beauty in things.
The subject I teach for an elective is called Critical and Creative Composers, and it allows students who are passionate about English to explore options outside the mainstream English course, and develops, as the name suggests, both creative and critical skills. So if you are interested in English and passionate about creativity, it's a really great course to allow you to expand your horizons.
If you're the kind of student who likes to know how your studies relate to real life, then psychology could be the subject for you. If you're human, then you use the principles of psychology every day, from seeking to understand the people around you, the people that you live with, and even seeking to understand yourself. So the girls in my class even tell me that psychology classes have helped them with cattle club and with managing the cattle at home on their farms. What you might not know is that psychology actually makes you a better student of English and of science. So if you're someone who likes thinking about what makes human beings tick, and how you personally can grow and thrive, then I would love to see you in psychology.
PASS at PLC Armidale has 3 main modules. The first one is physical activity, where we explore fitness and the components of fitness, and we unpack the different systems. It then looks at the second module, which is about sport and society, where we can look down career pathways and opportunities, as well as the sporting identity of Australia. And the third module that we look at is to do with enhancing performance. So that's the performance of athletes and how to make the most out of your fitness journey.
So PASS provides a wonderful stepping stone for any girls that might like to choose PDHPE as a Stage 6 course in Year 11 and 12. So through the PASS unit we explore a lot of language and terminology and concepts that we explore later on in that Stage 6 course.
So dance in Stage 5 is a great subject to be studying. We combine 3 aspects of dance. So as a whole, dance in Stage 5 and in Stage 6 indeed is more of a contemporary focus. So we look at dance as a medium or a platform to communicate intent and ideas through dance. So it's not just dance for physical fun, though that is what we do as well, but we learn things about dance that enable us to understand how we can communicate meaning through movement. So there are 3 kind of branches or strands of the syllabus that we look at in Stage 5. There's performance, composition and appreciation. There certainly is a practical component about skills and dance, but there's also the learning how to choreograph, learning how to write about dance. It's really rewarding, it's lots of fun, and I definitely would suggest that you consider choosing it for Stage 5.
To be honest, when I was choosing my electives, I didn't know what I wanted to do when I left school. So I chose based on what I was interested in, and I think that really helped me because now I'm seeing career paths that I would be interested in based on these subjects, which I've really found helpful. So I would recommend that you choose subjects that you like.
In Pastoral Care, it definitely helped, and especially knowing that you have teachers there all the time that you can go and talk to if you don't, like if you can't talk to your friends or your parents or anything about it, there's always the teachers there, and you know that they're not going to judge you and they're just going to try and help you, and they'll point you in the right direction to know what you're going to do.
Good evening everyone, my name is Kate Clinch and I'm the Head of Humanities here at PLC Armidale. But before I start, I just want to say that watching a video like that and watching our staff makes me wish that I was in Year 8 and about to embark on this Stage 5 journey all over again. So all schools are required to deliver programs of study that comply with the requirements of NESA syllabuses, and these courses need to satisfy the prescribed hours for the record of school achievement and be based on the outcomes of these NESA syllabuses. And as Mr Glendinning outlined earlier, there are some subjects that are mandatory for all students in Stage 5. So English, Maths, Science, History, Geography and PDHPE, and Christian Studies here at PLC. But here at PLC Armidale, we also offer a large number of Group A courses as electives, as you can see on the screen here. These are courses that have NESA syllabuses and will be included on the student's record of student achievement, or their ROSA, and a grade awarded if they are completed. So these courses, as you've heard a little bit about already, are agriculture, commerce, dance, design and technology, drama, food technology, languages including French and German, music, PASS, visual arts, and there's further details about each of these courses available in your Stage 5 handbook. But beyond the prescribed study hours, schools have the discretion to offer courses that are beyond the NESA curriculum. These are our Group B subjects, and these do not have a NESA syllabus. While these subjects won't be included on a ROSA, they are rigorous academic courses that we have developed to meet the needs of our students here at PLC. We have a course designed to offer enrichment in areas of English called Critical and Creative Composers. This course gives students a chance to immerse themselves further in the study of English and to continue to develop their skills. We've also developed a course called It's All in Your Mind, which explores aspects of psychology and critical thinking, and it is a course that has proved immensely popular with our students. We also have something quite unique. We have an opportunity for some students to complete only 2 electives and have 1 line of independent study. Now, this is open only to students who meet a set of eligibility criteria. To qualify for consideration, students must be undertaking an accelerated program of study or involved in a combination of representative sport or music within the college, along with sport or music external to the college, and some other activity at an elite or representative level. This independent study elective is available only upon application, and it involves students signing a declaration that includes ongoing satisfactory performance across most core subjects and a demonstrated commitment to their academic studies overall. So, with all of that information in front of you, how on earth do you make a decision about which courses? So, parents, this is a really exciting time for your daughter, as this is the first time in their educational careers that they're given the chance to choose part of the pattern of study. It's a mark of their growing their educational independence and a really big opportunity for them. And for students, the main advice we need to give you is that choosing subjects that you enjoy is the best way forward. Choose subjects that you are interested in. You're more likely to stay engaged and interested in subjects that you find genuinely interesting. You don't have to be an outstanding artist to choose visual arts in Stage 5, but it is an excellent opportunity to develop further your artistic skills. You don't have to be an experienced musician to take music in Stage 5, and selecting a course like this allows you to expand your musical skills. Think about the subjects that you have enjoyed in your educational experiences so far, and consider how you could pursue these further in Stage 5. If you're passionate about a subject, it is worth pursuing. There are many, many different paths to academic success, and following your passions is absolutely worth it. It can be useful to have an idea about careers that you would like to pursue in the future, but it's definitely not something that is necessary. Goals and big goals are great, but remember to have some flexibility in your thinking and some backup and alternative kind of plans. 2021 has certainly showed us that being flexible and adaptable is definitely a skill that we all need to keep working on. So the move into Stage 5 is really a very exciting time for students. At this point then, I would like to introduce a couple of our 2020 graduates who had time to reflect on their own Stage 5 experiences. These girls have some excellent advice for our current and future students.
Well, year 9 and 10 are really good time to be building your friendships because those are really important in your senior years, because preliminary exam, the course and then the HSC course is a team effort, and PLC has really helped develop that through Pastoral Care classes and the Pastoral Care days during year 9 and 10. And that connection with teachers has really helped.
Definitely, I think the positive environment here at PLC created by not only the staff, but by the students, the environment as everyone's changing from year 8, 9 to 10, maturing and finding their own paths and like seeing what they want to do for older years and post after school. The PLC environment really was supportive and friendly and allowed you to find what that change was and supported you through no matter what, wherever you were going. I think that some of the school excursions here at PLC have really been highlights. Like in year 9 we went to Barrington, we went on bushwalks and canoeing, and it was really great to build connections with people in your year group and with people who you might not usually have classes with, just to connect with other people and find that you do actually have similar interests and stuff. It's really interesting.
Definitely excursions and the outdoor education cements that support system that you receive at PLC. This is a very strong sisterhood, I think, that you can go talk to anyone in whatever year. Systems like peer support, that's always there. I think for the sisterhood in the boarding house is really strong.
The boarding house is definitely strong. Being a younger boarder in 7 and 8, like it can be very hard being away from home, especially if you only go home during the holidays, but having the older girls who were there for you all the time, always happy to talk, help if you're homesick, if you just wanted to chat. And I think especially now in year 12, I'm definitely feeling that, seeing that there definitely is the sisterhood with younger girls coming to me and the other year 12s, that definitely we are there for them and there's a strong connection between a lot of the younger girls.
Good evening. My name is Jonathan Schumach and I'm head of the STEAM faculty here at PLC Armidale. I'm also the timetabler, and so from that perspective I'm going to speak to you this evening about our subject selection timeline and the construction of our lines. So for those of you who are not aware of what lines are, lines consist of a group of subjects that occur at the same time on the timetable. And so when we are putting together our 3 elective lines for year 9 and 10, what we try to do is consider the preferences of all of the students to construct those lines, or the clusters of subjects, the 3 clusters of subjects, in the best way possible to try and meet your preferences. So the first stage in our selection timeline is our expressions of interest stage, and we are going to be sending out directly after this evening's Zoom a Google form to you asking you for preferences of your elective subjects. This will just be a list of the subjects that we are offering, and we are going to ask you to preference them from 1 through to 6. We will then use those preferences to construct our lines. So it's really important that if there's something you really, really do want to do, that you preference that as high as possible, number 1 or number 2, because the preferences are weighted by our timetable program. So the higher you preference it, the more likely it is that we can accommodate your needs. So we're asking for those expression of interests to be into us by Friday of week 8. So you have a little bit of time to think about it, to talk to some peers, some teachers, and get a bit of advice before you make those selections. But I will remind you that these are just expressions of interest. They're not your final choices. We're just using these to construct the lines. From there, we will construct those lines and we will release them to you early in term 4, so you can make your final selections of those 3 elective subjects. You are choosing these electives for 100 hours of study, so that is effectively 1 year. So if you're going into year 9, that means you're not locked into that elective for year 10. You may have the option to continue that for year 10, but the same process will happen at the end of year 9. So the line structure will be redeveloped to suit the next group of students and their needs. So you are selecting this subject for 1 year, and then you may have the opportunity to continue that subject or to select something else for the following year. I think that roughly outlines our process from here. So what I might do now is pass you back to Mrs. Taylor, and we've got the opportunity for you to engage in some questions.
Thank you, Mr. Schumach, and thank you for those who have sent through questions to the Zoom room, and I will just pull them up now. And remember, if you have any questions arising from the presentation and the explanations you've heard thus far or the videos that you've seen, please use the chat function to send them through, and they'll be sent through to the lectern here, and I will then pass them over to our panel. So the first question, Mr. Schumach, goes to you, and it is asking you to explain a little bit more about the subject line generation. Do those lines stay the same every year?
Good question. So the lines are generated based on preferences from the students that are in year 9 and year 10 for that year. And we try and meet the needs of the students and the preferences of those students every year as well as possible. So that means that the line structure is not set for any longer than the 12-month period, and it will be redeveloped for the following 12 months. There will be the opportunity for you to reselect and choose the same subjects for another 100 hours of study, or to try something else as well.
Excellent. So there's lots of flexibility in that, which is fabulous. Thank you. And responsive, girls, to your interests and the studies that you want to pursue. Could I ask the next question to Mrs. Clinch? And this question, can I choose all or most of my electives from the Group B courses?
Well, kind of, but not quite, seems to be the answer here. We only have 2 of those Group B courses, so you can select both of those depending on what happens in our line generation, but you will need to select something else, another elective, unless of course you are eligible for the independent elective line as well. So the Group B, it does mean that there'll be less subjects if you have 2 Group Bs and an independent elective, less subjects on your overall record of student achievement. But if it's something that you're interested in, it's definitely worth pursuing.
Thank you, Mrs. Clinch. And if you could pass the microphone across to Mr. Clendinning. Mr. Clendinning, the question is around stage 6. Are there any subjects that I must do in stage 5 in years 9 and 10 to be able to then follow that subject through into years 11 and 12 in the elective lines?
So that's where one of the great value that we have in the development of those subject lines. You are able to have a full range of choices in stage 6 for according to those elective lines. So may I encourage you to not feel that you're locked in or having to choose a subject if you're still thinking about it for stage 6, to follow the advice that Mrs. Clinch gave you in regards to your passions and your interests. There are some differences when it comes to the mandatory subjects with the mathematics. I might hand over that part of the question to Mr. Schumach, if maybe give some clarity around particularly mathematics and what that looks like.
And just while I have the microphone, the prerequisite question is an excellent one. There is nothing that says you have to have studied commerce in stage 5, for example, to be able to access business studies in stage 6. There's only one small change to that, and that's in the study of languages, because in stage 6 we have 2 different types of language courses. You have beginners and continuers. So if across stage 5 you've completed 200 hours of study, you then would go into continuers in stage 6. But if you haven't completed that, so if you've done no French at all, you could still pick up French in stage 6 as a beginner. So there are a couple of small things there, but at the main, there are no real prerequisites for stage 6, so pick the things that you're interested in for stage 5. Mr. Schumach, some more about maths.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Clendinning, for this, because this is something that we haven't really focused on this evening. The focus is more about elective choices. But one thing that does change for you when you move into year 9 is that mathematics divides into 2 different streams, to basically 2 or 3 different courses if needed, that enable you to start your journey towards either advanced and extension mathematics pathway for year 11 and 12, or a standard mathematics pathway. Now, your teachers will be providing advice to us as to which mathematics course is best suited to you. It's likely we're going to have a mathematics 5.3 course, which is probably more targeted to those mathematicians that are heading towards advanced or extension maths, and we'll also have a mathematics 5.2 course. So based on how you're performing currently in Year 8 mathematics, your teachers will be making recommendations about which course is best suited to you. In terms of the prerequisite idea, again, this does not preclude you from doing any level of maths in stage 6, but the pathways are designed to better set you up for either the advanced or extension or standard courses.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Schumach. And while you have the microphone, there's a little bit of question coming through to the chat room around the duration of those Group B subjects. How long does a student study the Group B subjects for? Is it just for 1 semester? Is it for 1 year? Or does it go beyond?
Yeah, so the subjects that we're asking you to select for next year when it comes to time for final selection are for 1 year of study. That means that it meets over 100 hours. So 100 hours is what the minimum would be for a year of study, but we're meeting in excess of 100 hours of study in that particular subject area, regardless of whether it's Category A or Category B.
Mm-hmm. But if I really was enjoying creative and critical composers in Year 9, can I study that in Year 10 as well?
Absolutely, and I always tell people that you'll get your first preference. So if it remains as your first preference for the following year, it doesn't matter what line it ends up on, you'll still be able to choose it.
Wonderful. That's fabulous. Thank you, Mr. Schumach. If I could ask Mrs. Clinch the next question, and this question, Mrs. Clinch, is asking about levels of English. Are there levels of English in Year 9 and Year 10? Because there are different levels of English in Years 11 and 12.
Again, fantastic question. No, there aren't any different levels of English in Stage 5, so for Year 9 and 10. You will remain in a class of your peers, and there aren't any different courses. There is one course for Stage 5 English, and there aren't any differences. Yes, there are differences in Stage 6. When you get to Stage 6, you can select between Standard English and Advanced English as our sort of main two courses. And from Advanced English, you can select Extension 1 and Extension 2 English. But the good news is, because English is compulsory in Stage 5, everybody gets to experience just how wonderful Stage 5 English can be. Isn't that right, Mr. Glendinning?
And while you've got the microphone, Mrs. Clinch, if I'm going into Year 9 and I've had a taste of French and I've had a taste of German, but I have my heart set on studying Japanese or Spanish or Arabic or Indonesian, what options do I have for studying those languages?
So we have partnerships with a number of different distance ed providers. So studying those kind of courses is a possibility for students. It does require a commitment to some independent study. It does require you to be quite focused and quite driven in your pursuit of your studies in those courses, because you are studying them through an external provider. We do provide you time and space on the timetable to do these courses, but it is something that needs to be negotiated with us on a case-by-case basis. So if there is a particular subject that you are really keen to pursue, please get in touch and we can look at what the options might be, because there are a couple of different places that we can access those courses, and we do like to make sure that it's appropriate to each student, and we make those on a case-by-case basis.
Excellent, thank you. Mr. Schumach, can I get you just to go over again, because this question has come through asking about how do I get more options or more choices of my electives? So I think that's around the 100 and 200 hour and the recasting of the lines at the end of Year 9. If you could perhaps explain that a bit more, please.
Yeah, so I guess essentially we can consider this as an entire stage of learning. So that's Year 9 and Year 10 all together. And so in Year 9 you have the opportunity to study 3 different electives, and then you get the opportunity in Year 10 again to choose another 3 electives. Now there could be overlap. You could choose some of the same courses, and they're designed to be a 2-year program, so it doesn't mean you're studying the same thing again. It's a new set of course material, but it means that you can dive deeper into that particular subject area. But if you want to try as many different things as possible, then you have the opportunity for 3 distinctly different electives. So perhaps in total you could have 6 different electives over that Stage 5 period of time.
Mm-hmm. Excellent, that's wonderful. Well, just while we're waiting to see if there are any final questions coming through to the Zoom chat room, I would just like to address one question that has come through, and that is, what is the process for the independent study application? Well, because that does require a student to be responsible for their time management, and the commitments that they have, that process the application process begins by students seeing Mr. Glendinning as the head of senior school. Mr. Glendinning will then talk with you about why you're wanting to pursue that independent study elective option and what sorts of commitments you have outside of school that would make that a suitable line of study for you to pursue. There is then an application form that you would complete, and we would be asking you to indicate your time commitments for your area of interest or endeavour outside of school on that timetable, as well as an undertaking of how you will manage your time well over the periods that we would allocate. That form then comes through to my office, and I have a conversation with Mr. Glendinning. We review your academic record to see that you are a student that is managing to complete all class and coursework. You're on top of things, that is an appropriate line of study for you to pursue, and then you would be granted permission to do that. Typically in the past, the girls that have been given permission to study that independent or complete that independent study elective are girls that might be applying for or preparing for their AMSA in music. In addition to the music as being an elective of study, they're also involved in ensembles at school, more than one ensemble. They may also have music commitments outside of school in addition to their AMSA study. And so what we provide then is some lessons on timetable for students to go down into the music practice rooms to work on their music studies, or to go down into the library to work on homework and assessment tasks because their outside of school commitments are significant. Likewise, we've had students that have played sport at a representative level through to the state and even national teams. And their training schedule, fitness schedule outside of school is quite exacting and taxing. And so again, we've made provision during the timetable on school days of having some time for either training or coaching using facilities at the college or by arrangement external, and also the library for undertaking homework and assessment task there. So it really is quite specific to the individual girl and their circumstance, and mums and dads, you may well want to be involved in that conversation also, because it is not an elective option that we grant lightly or readily to everyone who asks for it. I've been asked a question around now whether or not you're able to change an elective mid-year. What if I start doing psychology and at the end of semester 1, I don't want to continue it into semester 2? Mrs. Clinch, you've got the microphone. You might like to answer that question for us.
So there are always opportunities to change if things are going, in a way that is not quite to what we expected. So there are ways to change. However, we do like you to continue in those subjects for the year, if possible, but we also recognise that sometimes a course isn't quite suited to a student, and there can be ways to change your course if required. But again, that's one that needs to come through us, and you need to talk to us about the reasons for needing to make those changes. So it isn't a regular thing to change courses necessarily at the end of semester 1, but there is a possibility if things just aren't working out for you in a particular subject.
Excellent, thank you. And Mr. Schumach, the last question that's come through on the Zoom chat is this one. If someone does a new subject in Year 10, so they've picked up the elective in Year 10, but did not study that elective in Year 9, and it's a combined Stage 5 class with students in Year 9 and Year 10 in it, what happens to the work? Is the work streamed? Is it the same level of difficulty? How are the different needs accommodated within the classroom?
There's a bit of variety with this. So in some cases, it's just completely different areas of study. So it may still be a commerce class, but you may be studying the legal system or an economics focus, and that's done as part of a 2-year cycle or rotation. So it doesn't matter whether you've studied the first year or the second, everyone's accessing a new topic. There are some subject areas, obviously a lot of these have a practical and skills-based focus, where there is the need for students to work through some mandatory sort of prerequisite material before they can access the same stuff that the Year 10 students are doing. So an example there might be food technology. So you may need to work through some food safety, hygiene modules to begin with. So you're up to speed and you can engage in the practical lessons to the same extent that the students have done previously. So it does vary a little bit, but everyone gets a fresh and new experience.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Schumach. And so this is a question on notice for our panel. Each one of them can have a moment to think about this before responding. But what advice would you each have to the girls as they're considering those elective choices for Stage 5?
Well, I think I'd like to echo the sentiments raised earlier by other members of the panel, and that was all about picking something that you really enjoy. Don't pick it because your friends have picked it. Don't pick it because there's a particular teacher, but pick it because there's subject matter that you really enjoy. Because if you can engage with it from the start, then you will enjoy and you will excel in that subject area. So I think that's really important as you're making these choices.
For me, I think I'd like to encourage you to think about some flexibility in your thinking. As I watched that video earlier of all of those different subjects that are available, there are subjects there that I would love to study, that I never studied. And I think keeping your options open is a really important part of this process. Something might not be the first subject that you had considered, but it might fall that way really well on the lines for you. So I'd like you to think carefully about some of the other subjects that might be something you might enjoy, because I know looking at that video, there are at least 5 things there that I didn't really get to study in any great depth when I was at school that I think I'd quite like to join those classes. So keeping that in mind as you're thinking, not just having a fixed idea of 2 or 3 things that feel like absolutes, but maybe thinking about some of those other ones that could be good options for you. Just slightly interesting, perhaps.
I hope you've taken the opportunity to have a look at some of the videos that I asked our Year 9 and 10 girls to represent their subjects. If you have a click on each of those links, and I encourage you, like Mrs. Clinch has just mentioned, to look at some of those subjects that you previously may not have considered, I think you get a real sense of the joy that the girls have had in undertaking those subjects, and they are probably the best advocate for those subjects. And so not only do I encourage you to look at each of the videos, but maybe follow that up with some conversations with those girls in those videos about their experience, because they are all passionate about those courses of study, and they were surprised in some ways because your perception or preconceived ideas of what a subject looked like can actually be quite different once you get to experience that subject.
Thank you. Well, I think that's come to the end of the questions in our Zoom chat room. It has come to the end of our Stage 5 subject selection evening. And before I say a final good night, I would like to say a huge thank you. Our ability to present an evening like this in this virtual mode, which is not our first choice or usual way of presenting about our Stage 5 elective options, is definitely a team effort, and it's been made possible because of the creativity and the resilience and the hard work of a team of people. And I would like to thank Ms. Amy Chu, our Pathways and Academic Administrator, who put together the slides that you've enjoyed this evening, and who girls will follow through with much of the compilation of elective choices and communication, supporting Mr. Schumach in that. To Mrs. Samantha Crick, our Media and Communications Manager, who has overseen the formation of this evening and made sure that there was plenty of information available in our community, as well as coordinating the production and preparation of the videos. And to echo what Mr. Glendinning has said, the girls that recorded the video grabs, they're informal, they're not polished, they were not scripted, they were just girls speaking to camera about the elective they've chosen and why they encourage other girls to give that a go. They're definitely worth a watch. I would also like to thank Mr. Chris Estridge, our IT manager, who has managed to put together the technology and manage the platforms that have enabled us to present to you this evening. I trust you have found it worthwhile. For those families that are joining us for the first time, I trust you have had a bit of a sense of who we are at PLC Armidale, and that it is an advantage for your daughter to complete her education here with us. For our existing families, I look forward very much to seeing you in person soon. Girls, we are missing having you on campus day by day. So thank you for being present this evening, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you.